Good morning.
Good morning.
So what should we talk about?
Well, a few weeks ago, we asked the Facebook community to give us topics.
Ooh, did they?
We got 2 pages worth of topics
Wow.
here. And the one that stood out for me today was perhaps we could retouch old episodes, like the one on core pictures. That was an amazing episode and left me wanting to know more. So, core pictures.
What did we talk about?
I have no clue.
Oh,
Probably something very silly.
or brilliant.
Brilliant, yes.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So what is a core picture? A core picture is a picture, a memory, or a belief that basically begins to be held as a this is who I am.
A pattern.
A pattern. And that pattern then begins to build other experiences around it, and that begins to shape the personality of a person.
See, I see it a little differently.
Okay?
I understand core pictures as being something that we're a spirit before we take this body, and we're up there deciding what game we want to play down here on Earth, and we decide, I want to have a full experience around competition or being taken advantage of, or being a quadriplegic, or being the only child, or whatever, and it's several decisions, it's not just one. And then what we do is we arrange it, find the parents, find the location, find the school system, do everything to fully jump into that experience and have it. And then we are born.
Sure. And so that part of the process is the soul saying, I want to know myself. And in this game called Third Dimension, I want to know all the variations of experiences that are available. So that's really kind of sets the whole purpose of the lifetime in motion, and that, I understand that piece. So let's look at it this way. So you gather up all that information and you bring it all together, and then pop, out you come.
Pop?
Yeah, that's like birthing process. What?
Pop.
So out you come, and then you start your experience. So if you think about little kids, right up to kind of 1 year old, they're all smiles. They're absolutely thrilled. That soft spot on the top of their head stays soft. It begins to close and close and close. That's their connection to source, to where they came from. And then it becomes hard. And basically that's the point where you forget. So from that point on, you begin to have experiences. And one of the things we've talked about lots of times is the mom, dad, teacher, minister of life begin to have a better idea of what you should be doing because they love you and they know better.
And that, from my perspective, we chose that mom, dad, teacher, minister before we were born so that we could have that experience.
Right. So so it's like somebody pushes go when you're born, and there begins to be the experiences, the environment, the people, the circumstances. So as you move through that, there's multiple experiences going on all the time, so not just those particular ones. So, but one of the things that happens, let's talk about core pictures in a negative, for example. There are lots of things that happen where you get a brilliant mom, dad, teacher, minister, and you come in with a great set of skills, and you have a tremendous grasp of circumstance and perception of reality. So that's a positive thing, and that happens to a great portion of people. But right here, the core picture that we're mostly interested in is the ones that cause a person's personality to need to be paid attention to. So the mom, dad, teacher, minister of life basically say, you're not okay, you're not smart, you don't deserve. And so you grab a hold of that, and as we've said all along, one of the things that we do is ask the absolute worst question you could ask: what's wrong with me? What did I do wrong?
Or why?
Or why am I not okay?
Yeah.
And you can't be not okay. It's impossible. But I say this often, you can wear a shirt too small, shoes that don't fit, and then walk around in them and wonder why you're uncomfortable. Same circumstance is, I'm being somebody else's picture and I'm not liking myself. That's one set of things that create core pictures. For many of you listening, there's a whole nother set, I'm going to assume, because I watch it in many people's space all the time, is you come into the body and you keep a lot of those skill sets that you come in with. And where the person who has the great lifetime, they have intuition, they're perceptive, they know how to pause, how to engage, they basically have a sense of themselves in present time. But many of us come in and we start being told we're not okay, and it knocks us off balance. We begin to doubt, we begin to withdraw. But one of the things that many people, spiritual people, have is they come in with all of those abilities on clairvoyance, clairsentience, telepathies, clairaudience, and you're hearing things, you're seeing things, and to a great extent, one of the most physical ones is you're feeling things. Second chakra is constantly feeling that person's angry, that person's annoyed, that person doesn't like me. Well, they're just upset. But we begin to make assumptions that what we're feeling is about me. And so we begin to withdraw, we begin to hide. Any of you hiders? The answer is yes. Let me help you out. The multitude of people that play in Mastering Alchemy, very, very capable and withdrawn, doubtful,
Well, they're sensitive,
uncertain.
and so they
Absolutely.
hear, feel, see all the noise,
Right.
and it's overwhelming.
Right. So all of those skill sets are hugely valuable unless you're answering the question, trying to answer the question, what's wrong with me? And so often we had a woman not so long ago who basically says, well, I'm always hiding, and I'm afraid to tell jokes. And my mouth kind of dropped open because this is one of the funniest people I know, and she's always telling jokes. So what she said was, I told the joke and I got laughed at. And so I decided I'm never going to tell jokes. So this is really the important part of some of these things like that, hiding, withdrawing, or holding a belief that says, this is how it is, when in fact it happened 20 years ago. So in her case, when I said, do you realize you're one of the funniest people around? You're always telling jokes. And she said, yeah, I guess so.
I'm compensating.
I'm compensating. She couldn't have it. So I've seen other people like this. They're gregarious, they're funny, they're outgoing, and they're scared to death because I don't want to be seen. I don't want anybody to find out how bad I am. So I'm going to be in their face first. And if I can make them like me, then they won't know how bad I am.
They won't reject me.
They won't reject me. They won't laugh at me. They won't whatever it is. Anybody know what I'm talking about? And so the reality of that, though, is when you begin to have an awareness of core pictures, when you begin to ask, what is it that drives me? Then you can start to bring it into present time, and there's some skills. We'll talk about this maybe next week and the following week, but how you begin to step out of those beliefs, how do you bring them into present time? How do you basically actually kind of create a platform over here to step out of my game, my experience, and find a balanced, neutral, capable point of observation. We'll talk about that next week. But that life pattern a lot of times is from circumstances that we hold on to that are not really true, although we manufacture an answer. You've had comments in the past about your experience.
Yeah, my core picture, what I found is that if I can identify something, that's 90% of releasing it.
Yeah.
And so my core picture this lifetime was being taken advantage of. And so before I was doing this Mastering Alchemy work, before I met you, I was just rolling around in it. It was just pain.
You were a mess.
I was a mess. I was a mess. Now I'm not such a mess. But now with the tools, what I've done is I'm now more aware of the thread of my whole life and how me as a spirit created this core picture. And so I can see that thread. I chose a father who had a pattern of giving his money, trusting his friends who would then steal his money and go away. I was bullied in school. My parents, way back then, it was okay to beat children, so they beat us. I married two husbands that were also abusive. I know, it was a real mess.
Oh, no.
And in a few business endeavors with people, I got ripped off. So from a pretty neutral place, I can look at this fascinating thread, and then just a few weeks ago that came up again. But really, for the first time, I told you this, for the first time I wasn't charged about it. I didn't get it all over me. I wasn't sick. The pain didn't happen. I didn't worry in my head. Using the tools and identifying that thread, I'm a lot more neutral about that.
Yeah. So you can kind of stay on your side of the rose and observe and then choose. We'll talk about that next week maybe, but
it was I'm glad it happened again a few weeks ago, because I got to see my growth and how, I don't go there anymore. I don't react that way.
Yeah. One of to kind of help here, we'll talk about tools next week, but one of the things that allows you to begin to interrupt these patterns, these core pictures, is recognize that they are in the past and you aren't. You're right here. So one of the great tools is to stop in present time and it's as if you grab a hold of that experience and bring it right here and recognize that's something that happened 20, 30, 40 years ago, and I'm still holding on to it as if it's real in my reality right now. And ask the question, do I need this? Is it real? Does it really have any value to me? And really, if you're neutral, we'll talk about neutral next week too, but in that space of really saying, would my life be different if I simply let go of this? The answer is going to be yes, 99 out of 100 times.
And what was true back then is not true present time.
Exactly.
I'm not in that situation.
And you don't live with those two husbands, and your father doesn't beat you, and those people that bullied you don't even exist at all. But in real terms, many people still say, yes, but you don't understand, they're out to get me. Who's out to get you? They don't even exist anymore, and it's a figment of our patterning. And when you bring it in and you start to realize, wait, I do tell funny jokes, and people do like me, and nobody's laughed at me for years and years and years. Would you like to let that go? And it's the beginning stage of, would you like to really build your life in a space of being capable and certain and ease and flexible, and being able to have somebody really in your face and be able to say, wow, how's that really work for you? Is that what you really want to say? And do it from a very neutral place without getting all wound up and feeling abused. So core pictures are useful to acknowledge, bring into present time in a neutral space, and basically say, am I really this person? And or do I want to continue to be that person? And in a place of where you're really paying attention, that whole structure simply dissipates because it is not in present time. So core pictures, that's
big deal.
What they are, yeah. So I'm glad you got over all that.
I'm not a mess anymore.
No, you're not at all. So, all right, we'll do this again next week.